Hi, welcome to part one of our pencil tutorial. Okay, so the objective here is to build a pencil with an eraser and a sharpened taper at the end, which is going to also later be placed into another scene that has a desk in it, and you'll be building the desk also, and all that will be placed into a scene where there's an office, like a room with a window and a couple of light sources, and then we'll later animate the pencil writing something on the desk. Okay, so first things first, and we need to get our canvas ready here to accept what we're trying to do. First, I'll delete this cube that comes up by default in the middle here. I'll just hit X on my keyboard and hit delete. Looks good. I'm going to open up some of these panels so we can see them a little bit better. So I'm going to open up the properties panel and then drag down the outliner a little bit. As you may or may not know from class, I prefer to use the English method, which is the imperial grid method, where we can actually put in measurements from the real world so we don't get confused. It also works really well when we want to pass on scenes to other people who know the kind of grid they're expecting. All right, so I want to set that up for English. So across the top here, we have four buttons. There we go. There, we got the scene button is pressed right now. That gives us a lot of choices. So we're just going to scroll down here to where it says units. I'm going to hit imperial. All right. So my grid has changed a little bit to reflect that. I'm going to zoom in a little bit using the middle mouse button. Okay, now I want to change our graphics display a little bit so we can display textures on this. So I'm going to hit N, and that's going to extend the properties window out this direction here. And I'm going to scroll up, and we're going to look for display. Here it is right here at the bottom. It's a flyout, so I'll just click it, open that up. Okay, a few things to choose from here. We're only concerned with the kind of shading that's going on here. So instead of multi-texture, I'm going to hit GLSL. You can't tell what's going on yet, but you will once we get into using textures. Oh, let's see. I'm going to hit textured solid. I think that's right. And I think I'll increase our grid a little bit more. There we go. Okay. I'm going to hit N again to get rid of that. And maybe I'll slide that back in a little bit. Give us some more room. All right, and I'm going to maximize the window. I'm going to toggle Control-Alt-Q to give us quad view. And everything else looks pretty good, so I'm going to set up our pencil body here. So we start with a cylinder on that. I'm going to do Shift-A. I'll select Mesh. As soon as I get that back up here, Shift-A, select Mesh, and then Cylinder. Okay, that gives us some parameters to check down here at the bottom of the corner. That's a one-time only window that comes up, so we have to make sure to take care of that once that first window comes up. After you start editing, then it's going to not give you that option. Right now it's at 32 faces. Let's zoom in a little bit in the camera view. Okay, you can see how there's a lot of facets along the outside here. We want to change that down to 6 sides because the pencil only has 6 sides. All right, so I've made it 6 sides now. Okay, now we have a couple of other measurements to do here. The radius is is basically the distance. It's half the diameter if you've taken geometry at all. So radius, half of what this is about a 1/4 inch. A pencil is about a 1/4 inch wide, but we need to take half of that, so that's 0.17 inches. All right, so we double click here on this. So instead of a 2-foot radius, we're going to put 0.17, and the quotation mark for inches. Hit enter, and that makes it really skinny, as you can see, but it's quite a bit too long because it's at 4 feet. The depth is the length. So it's at 4 feet. When we measure our pencil, we can see that it's only about 7 inches. So I'm going to put 7 inches here. Enter. Okay, so let's frame up all of our views. I'm going to hit the period key from the numpad on each one of the views. and that'll zoom in for us. Looks good. That looks about right for a pencil. All right. Next step is we're going to name this cylinder. Instead of it just saying cylinder, we're going to organize our scene so it actually says, it makes sense. So I'm going to double click here up on the outliner window where this triangle is, and I will hit pencil body. I'll type that in. Okay, so now we have pencil body and one cylinder. Okay, so next we need to give this a material. So along the top here, instead of the scene button, we're going to come over here and hit the material button. And that gives us a pretty nondescript window, but it's powerful. The way this works is objects contain meshes, and meshes contain vertices and faces. All right, so this object, we're going to put some plugs into it, basically. So it'll accept some material parameters that we supply for it. I'm going to hit the white plug. There it goes. That actually gave us a couple. All right, so I'll come back up here to the top, and we're going to supply it some new data here. So I'm going to hit the white plus for new. That gives us the default white material. I'm going to change that. I'm going to come down to where it says diffuse. Just click once in the swatch. That'll give us the color window, and I'll drag down here. You can see the color changing. All right, I'm going to bring the intensity up to 100%, which is just 1. All percentages here are basically between 0 and 1. All right, that looks good. All right, now that we're set with that, I'm going to pause so we can get on to part 2, and we'll create a sharpening tool that will cut the tip off the top of the pencil.